During last council, we actually had a review and we had quite a few people actually red flagged. There was quite a few employees red flagged, but during the 4 years, basically whatever the increase is, it goes on to the grid until we have another review. And then we take a look at that again and have it all flagged again. So for 4 years, we don't review anything. So they automatically, the grid gets that increase, same as the staff. 2 years ago, I believe.
So at this point, we have the resolution moved and seconded that we receive the budget plan for information. And we approve a 2024 wage increase using the 12-month July CPI 3.3%, and that be drafted to incorporate into the 2024 budget. All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you to our Treasury Department for that good work. All right, we need a mover and seconder for awarding the payroll RFP. Moved by Councillors Kennedy and Blackwell. That council accept the recommendation to award a contract to UKG, total value of $211,850 for time and attendance and payroll system. Director, any comments before we go to council questions?
Through you, Chair. No additional comments other than we followed the procurement process. We did have 2 submissions and we have created an evaluation team. All of the proposals, or the 2 proposals, were reviewed and staff, I would say not just within finance, but within the overall municipality, are very eager and excited to get on board of this. I started here over 11 years ago and we've been using the same system, if you call it, which is really just several thousand Excel spreadsheets along with our current software system. It's a very archaic system and it definitely doesn't meet our needs sufficiently. So we're very much looking forward to moving forward with this project.
Councillor Steinhoff-Gray, please.
Thank you. Through you, Chair, I have a couple of questions. One of the first questions I was going to ask is, I don't know what our work order system is or what other applications we have, if there's modules within them that could do a similar function. And my second question was, based on the report, I really couldn't decipher, and I've talked to our CAO about this in open transparency. I couldn't decipher the return on investment for implementing the project. So like with the numbers that were in that report, I didn't feel like I necessarily had an ROI. And usually I would expect to see, this is what I expect my return on investment to be. And within this amount of time, I would have paid off the investment. That would be what I'm used to seeing. So I'm just curious what we think that return on investment is and how we document that to be sure that we have actually achieved what we think we're achieving by approving this.
Thank you for the question. Through you, Chair, I don't know how to answer the question on ROI. It's for us very difficult to quantify exactly how much staff time is put into timesheet processing and approvals. I can tell you that we do currently have 1.5 FTEs working on payroll at the moment. One of the positions is solely dedicated to payroll. The other position is doing part payroll, part accounts payable processing. And we hope that going forward, once this is implemented, we will be able to fully dedicate one of those resources only to accounts payable and having the other one dedicated to payroll administration. But in order to quantify, I can't even begin to quantify what that would mean for all of the different staff across the board. So I won't be able to give you an ROI at the end of the day. And with respect to your first question, no, we do not have a current system that would be able to accommodate the payroll approvals and timesheet and attendance system.
I'll come back to you. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you, through the chair. And this question may be directed a little bit more to our CAO necessarily, but I'm used to seeing in requests to award a proposal is generally both bids. And I recognize, I think that there's, especially with software and implementation and connecting with existing systems, reason for going with the second or higher bid. But I'm just wondering if it won't really influence me, but I'm just wondering perhaps why it was not included in this report.
I'm sure the director can answer this as well. With an RFP, it's a matrix of evaluation, right? So it's a total score. So the top score is the one that wins the recommendation, essentially. It's because they put forward the best product. The cost is only a percentage of the overall evaluation. So the reason you have it set up that way is because it's different than a tender. A tender will say, this is exactly what it is that we want. We want this specific thing. How much, and here's all the specs of what we need, how much to do or build that particular thing. An RFP is going to say, we need something like this that helps us resolve this issue. So the evaluation matrix is developed as a part of the RFP that gets issued. So everyone is clear on the criteria. And then it's evaluated that way so that because you could get a low price that doesn't meet your needs. So that's why with an RFP, it's just based on the total score overall.
Councillor Stanoff Gray, please.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I wanted to thank Roxana for her answer. Actually, I think you did answer some of my question based on the time savings of going from one full-time person dealing with payroll to 0.5 of a person, because that 0.5 probably accounts for the yearly costs, licensing fees of the software. So you actually did in a roundabout way answer a good portion of my question. Thank you.
Wonder what the return on investment in the Davidson Center would be. Councillor Stewart, please.
Through you, just a little bit of coaching here to your staff, Jill, is that it came across like this was a savings. And clearly it's not a savings, it's an improvement, but it is going to cost the taxpayers about $30,000 to $40,000 extra. But, when I read the report, it got my, hair almost standing on end, whatever I have, because it looked like you were trying to portray this as a savings. And there's no real clutch savings. There's a bit of savings here, a bit of savings there. But at the end of the day, it's going to cost us $35,000, $40,000. But it'll be an improvement because when I read the report, there are so many different areas that things could have slipped through. I mean, I couldn't believe it. We have a very loose system right now, and this should be tightening it up. And there's auditing and everything else. But I have no problems if you want to present this like it's a savings, it's an investment. It'll improve our payroll and the auditing function, no problem. But don't come across like this is a big savings because
Excuse me, Councillor
staff
Stewart.
isn't really
Excuse
there.
me, Councillor Stewart, your comments regarding the motivation of our staff are inappropriate at this time.
Apologize for that.
So I would, and perhaps the director will want to comment as well. I do not perceive that the way this was presented is a savings. This was presented in the budget as a new item, listed as a capital project in 2024. So it was noted as a new increased cost.
Councillor Blackwell, please. Deputy Mayor Clark.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor, through you. First off, thank you, Roxana, for the work that's gone into this. I think it's very clear in the report that the priorities of this is for organization efficiency and improvements. So I don't know that necessarily speaks of savings, although I do think the efficiency in itself does result in savings. I find it hard to believe that we haven't updated the system for 20 years, to be quite honest, and I have no difficulties in supporting this.
So we have a resolution before us that we award the contract to UKG, total value of $211,000 for a time and attendance and payroll system. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Council remuneration and expense policy. Need a mover and seconder, Councillor Hinchberger and Blackwell. The council adopts the draft council remuneration and expense policy as presented or with amendments. Further, once the new policy is adopted, council repeals the former policy, GG 1.9 remuneration, council and others. Roxanne, any comment or just for questions? Any questions? Councillor Stewart?
I noticed that we're going to have parity with the staff, which I agree with. But how much parity are we going to have? Is senior staff allowed cell phones, and is that actually sponsored and supported by the tax dollars?
Sorry, so perhaps I can ask you to better explain the question. Parity with the staff is just with respect to the increase. Are you, if you're looking for additional items for council members to be made available? If you're looking for IT, it's a very different kind of question than a remuneration package.
Well, you were talking about parity, and I agreed with it, parity with the increases. So we basically are going to get the same increases as staff, which I agree with. The problem is that we're not getting parity with the senior staff, and our cell phones provided to senior staff free of charge or supported by, because we have to pay for our cell phones. And we do pay for the internet that we use at our home offices. I just want to make sure parity is right across the board. And that's an easy question to answer, I think. Are you compensated for your cell phones, and are you compensated for the internet at home? Thank you.
Is this outside the scope of the question that we're being asked here? That's my question.
I guess. Yes. So the report is as a result of a notice of motion that came to council. It was not through staff. So staff were not the ones that were proposing parity. It was individual council member who brought it forward, and council supported that. In my experience, the reason that you have your staff with cell phones is so that you can access them outside of work hours and when they are not in the office, as well as in the event of an emergency, that they are available during an emergency. So that tends to be the driving force for who has a cell phone that's issued by a municipality. So the mayor has a cell phone as a member of the Municipal Emergency Control Group. And so those are the rationales for why staff have cell phones. I'm not aware of anyone being compensated for home internet. If these are items that council is interested in for themselves, you can certainly include those in your remuneration package.
Deputy Mayor, please.
Once again, thank you very much for the effort that's gone into preparing this report. I have no problems in supporting it. I don't need another way for people to contact me. Thanks.
You have the motion before you. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Review of advisory committees of council and recommended ad hoc committees. We need a mover and seconder. Councillors Kavanaugh and Hinchberger. That staff be directed to bring back a report in terms of reference for the strategic plan ad hoc committee. Would you like to speak to this or respond to questions?
Just be really brief.
Okay.
So our manager of legislative services prepared the report with input from staff. There is that appendices to the report that speaks to some of the ideas of where we think you as council may wish to seek some advice from an external group or a smaller group of council members. The rationale for bringing forward one related to a strategic planning ad hoc committee is just to make sure that council members, and if you desire, members of the public, to be part of organizing the strategic planning process. This one I would expect to be a a very short ad hoc committee to give advice to council to make sure that you're all on the same page for moving forward with the strategic plan in 2025.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Thank you. Through you, Chair. I'm not wanting to dive too deep into it because the recommendation or resolution here is just to bring back a report in terms of reference on the strategic plan ad hoc. But in looking at the report there and the attachment, which is like the committee planner, I just have a couple of comments. So one is, I don't know that I'm still necessarily fully grasping the separation between a working group and a committee. I'm recognizing that in most cases, our committees are time sensitive with a very specific report to come back to council. Yes, through a mandate, but looking at the planner, there's one in there for economic development. And when I'm thinking about how that might work, I'm curious of whether that would be better suited as a working group. The other is that, is there an opportunity for us to potentially give more feedback on what's listed and when for the ad hoc committee planner? Like, for example, there's a one in there about the airport feasibility, and that's not until mid.
Councillor, this is just about the
I-
strategic
okay.
plan.
Okay.
That's all. A report and terms of reference for strategic plan ad hoc committee. Councillor Hinchberger, you had a question?
Through you, Mayor, it was maybe for some of the audience might be watching. It did the aha for me. This isn't to come up with a ad hoc committee to look at the 3 elements out of the current integrated strategy 2.0 that we picked as most important. This is just limited to the higher level act of strategic planning itself. So took me a while to get that. Maybe I wouldn't be the only one. So.
Any other questions? Any other questions? All in favor of the motion? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority Category 3 apportioning agreement. Need a mover and seconder, councillors Prenger and Stewart, please. That council approves Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority's draft cost apportioning agreement with the municipality of Kincardine for Category 3 programs and services as per report CAO General 2023-21. Would you like to speak to this? Any questions? Councillor Prenger. No. I'm just wondering if you have any comments in directing our decision making.
You want me to? Hold on, thank you.
You have a lot of good things to say. I just want you to say them out loud. That's all.
All right, I'm trying to sort through like 1,000 tabs on my computer right now. So just give me half a second. So I'm not sure, I hope everybody had a chance to read it and understand what category 3 means. Does anybody want that explained? Because I can if I have to. Yeah, so the changes in the act mean that there are certain services that the SVCA provides that are no longer mandatory. However, they are very beneficial to the watershed, and the authority would like to continue providing a couple of them. They have decided to stop providing some. So they had to categorize all of the services they provide between category 1, 2, and 3. 1 are mandatory, and 3 are the absolutely not mandatory, but they are paid for by their member municipalities if we so choose to allow them to continue that. And they have decided that the category 3 service they would like to continue providing is water quality testing and education about that, communication and education about that service. It is a service that if we don't do it for even a year, the data becomes not useless, but very close to. So it's very important that it continues on and that we don't skip any years. And it is very important service, I believe, for everyone in the watershed, including all of our surrounding municipalities. And I can say, I think I'm allowed to say that it appears that almost all but maybe one of the member municipalities appear to be in support of this. At least there are members that sit on the board. So they've all taken it back and are recommending that their municipalities approve to pay for this, the water quality testing to continue. And I would like to just point out that in terms of how much we will have to pay to support the Conservation Authority in total, our levy is, you know, in the hundreds of thousands, and this service is going to cost us 17,000. So it's minuscule considering we just approved a 200,000 software program to make things easier for staff. I think 17,000 to ensure that our drinking water quality stays safe is nothing.
Councillor Stewart, please.
Extremely well put. Thank you. So, you know, at one time, this was part of the levy. This year, it's separate. We did talk about our budget at our last meeting, and there was an increase of about 12% proposed, but we sent it back to staff to have another review. So there was a $41,000 increase to our levy, which is about 12%. If we add the 17,000, it's almost 60,000. So there is a sizable increase. And why we decided to push it back to the staff is that we're doing a new sort of fee structure that we're going to try to capture all the fees to pay for the expense for the environmental. But the provincial government last year froze the fees. So what I'm saying is if they freeze the fees again and we're not allowed to increase, we could be seeing a 30% increase in the levy. So we just wanted to tell you, this is outside, but this is $17,000, but the water quality program is excellent. And I agree with my fellow counselor, we couldn't do that ourselves, and to lose that, they have wells throughout. They even have a well at Tiverton. So they test all the water throughout, and it gives us a great county right across their whole conservation area. And it's a tough one, but I probably would support this. Thank you.
Other questions? Councillor Stanoff Gray, please.
I don't think I have to remind any of my fellow counselors, but those of you who remember going through our water training, we have an accountability to the public that the water is safe, and it's not something we can buy insurance for. And I think that this is an important program because it will provide what I would call leading indicators if there's other things we need to be concerned about. And it's invaluable to me in that sense.
We've got the motion before us. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Municipality of Kincardine Emergency Response Plan. We need a mover and seconder for this motion. Councillor Kavanagh and Deputy Mayor Clark, that the Council of the Municipality of Kincardine pass a bylaw to adopt the 2023 draft Municipality of Kincardine Emergency Response Plan as presented. We have our emergency measures guru Shane Watson here this evening
That's a new title. Thank you.
to answer any questions that council members may have. Any questions, councillors? All in favor of the motion? That's carried.
Thank you.
You did a good job. Thanks for the board. Thank you.
Matters for, are there any notice of motions that any councillors would like to present to council? Yes, Councillor Stanoff Gray.
I would just like to let council know, I understand we're going to have a committee on water safety, but I would like to put forward a motion next meeting potentially, or when we can get it on the schedule, regarding the ladder associated with the pier. Just because the one that's there is deficient, and I think I'd be more
Okay, and no, you just get to say the motion. You don't
Okay.
get to debate. Councillor, could you ensure that you send that motion to our legislative department before the next, in a timely fashion for them to incorporate it? Thank you. Councillor Hinchberger, please.
Thank you, through your mayor. Quickly, I understand the Accessibility Advisory Committee met and had a discussion related to the 207, 209 Birchwood Walkway. And there's going to send it back to council for direction on whether we want to consider accessible. That's the motion will be that we have no intention of applying AODA type standards to this 207, 209 walkway. And I'll pass it on.
Excellent. That's all for notice of motions. Excellent. We do have some motions here. One is the Municipal Act, Section 357 and Section 358 applications regarding cancellation or reduction in property taxes.
We want to increase.
So individuals making application under Municipal Act, Section 357, 358 may make representation to council and are to be afforded the opportunity to do so at this meeting. Are there any applicants in the audience this evening that would like to make a scientifically based application for reduction or cancellation of taxes? Okay. Having said that, I need a mover and seconder for this next motion. Councillors Stewart and Blackwell, please. Whereas Section 357, 358 of the Municipal Act provides a process for property owners to apply for cancellation, reduction, and refund of taxes under specific circumstances, including but not limited to a change in the use of a property, demolition, or fire, the property being substantially unusable for a period of at least 3 months, or a gross and manifest error in the preparation of the assessment roll. And whereas in the opinion of staff, there are 8 write-offs, appeal number 2023-01 to 2023-05 and 2023-07 to 2023-09 meet the criteria set out in the Municipal Act. And whereas the total of the applicants' applications amount to $10,034.17, with the municipal share being $5,691.12. Now therefore it be resolved the council approve the applications as provided. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Community investment grant application. We need a mover and seconder. Councillors Kennedy and Steinoff Gray. Whereas policy LS01 community investment grant policy sets out that requests for support for new projects may only be considered outside of the standard. For new projects only may be considered outside of the standard intake processes, with applications to be submitted for review by the community investment grant evaluation team, who will make a recommendation to council. And whereas Tiverton and District Lions Club has submitted a 2023 community investment grant application, and whereas funds remain in the community investment grant budget, and whereas the evaluation team has reviewed the application and recommended a grant of $1,000 to be approved, now therefore be resolved that council approve a 2023 community investment grant of $1,000 to the Tiverton and District Lions Club. Any discussion? Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, I know I've been on the committee both terms, and we always leave a little bit of extra money aside, just in case groups like this come along, to try to be able to help them out, just for information.
I was listening. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's carried. Can you hail Councillor Stewart? Oh, he was listening. Yeah. It is, yeah.
Was it influencing?
Consideration of bylaws 8.4A. Need a mover and seconder for this next one regarding bylaw enforcement, moved by Councillor Inchberger and Kavanaugh. That the bylaw enforcement, James Special Services Amendment 1 bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, and third time, finally passed and numbered as bylaw number 2023-157. They're changing their name. All in favor?
Yes.
And that's carried. Merlin Simex Professional Counseling Associates Agreement bylaw. We need a mover and seconder, please. Councillor Stewart and Hinchberger. That the Merlin Simex Professional Counseling Associates Agreement 2023 bylaw be deemed to be read first, second, third time. Finally passed and numbered as bylaw 2023-158. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. A motion to pass bylaws. We need a mover and seconder to pass these. Keep in mind that you have opportunity to withdraw one of these bylaws for individual consideration, if that is your choice. Mover and seconder, please. Councillors Prenger and Deputy Mayor Clark. Following bylaws are hereby read first, second, and third time, finally passed 27th of September 2023. Amendment to zoning bylaw 2003-25 Bruce Township Gamble bylaw, award tender 2023-01 bylaw, council remuneration and expense policy bylaw, Saugeen Valley Conservation Authority agreement bylaw, and emergency response plan bylaw. All in favor? Oh.
I'm just trying to,
Would you like to have one withdrawn, Councillor?
yeah, Gamble zoning, please, because I voted no for that, please. Thank you.
So we have the remaining 1, 2, 3, 4 bylaws that we're considering at this point. All in favor of those bylaws? Anyone opposed? They're carried. Now following, we will consider amendment to zoning bylaw Gamble. All in favor? Anyone opposed? And that's carried. Thank you. Matters for information, we have the consent agenda. These items are listed under the consent agenda and they're enacted in one motion as acceptance of consent. And of course, you may remove one or more items to be discussed either this evening or at a separate time. Are there any items that any councillor would like to have considered? Hopefully this evening. Councillor Blackwell, please.
Yeah. Why don't you say something nice?
Thank you. I am hoping, I'm sorry because I zoned out a little bit, so I'm hoping I'm going to embarrass myself, but I'm wanting to pull something from the consent agenda. That's where we're at. Okay, excellent. So I'm looking at 9.1 BA, which is the Trailblazer Volunteer Program. I think there are some general trail updates in terms of volunteering that I would like, that I'm hoping our Director of Community Services can share.
Anyone else? Anything else? Councillor Stewart, please.
I think it's important since there is a petition signed by 200 people. I like to pull, I believe it's 9.1 DC Tesla Girlings subdivision. I like that section pulled, please.
Anything else? Councillor Stanoff Gray, please.
No.
If possible, I would like to pull under section, sorry, I gotta get to the top number that goes with it.
It's hard.
I actually can't see the number, but Charlie, which would be Tessa Gerlin Tidman subdivision, I'd like to speak to the petition briefly, like at a different
That's the
session.
same one that Councillor Stewart.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. I thought you said Delta instead of Charlie. Oh,
Okay, we know which one.
okay. Same one as my friend.
So the Director, good evening. Would you like to speak to the item, the Trailblazers Volunteer Program as requested by Councillor Blackwell, please?
Certainly, and through you, yes, thank you for the opportunity to talk about the volunteers that we have working on the trails. This is an added element to the already good work that they do. The CAO and myself have had multiple meetings over the last week to meet with representatives from the Trails group to talk about the future of them. And we recognize that that group's had a very busy summer with their own personal agendas. And so that we were pleased that they were willing to come and chat with us over the last couple of weeks. As of this week, you'll start to see volunteers on the trails. They will be working under our volunteer policy, and staff have been working closely with them as we progress with bringing the trails back to a state that we are accustomed to. The program that we have presented, that we have for you this evening, complements the work that they are doing as well. And we have presented this program to them for their awareness. it isn't a program that we adopted or invented ourselves. It's one that is used in other communities because we recognize the fact that many volunteers walk, or many individuals walk the trails every day with their dog on the same trail. And that's another added set of eyes and ears on the trails to report back if they see hazards, that we can enable staff to get there, or volunteers, and triage them to fix those issues immediately. So we're now looking for volunteers, and we'll be starting a campaign to get individuals who would like to be part of this to sign up through us. And we're excited about where this is going to take us.
Okay, Tidman application. Mr. Van Dorp had expressed regrets that he has another commitment earlier this evening as well. He was hoping that he could stay, but we didn't go quite fast enough. A couple of points I'd like to offer before we get too far into the conversation. I know the passion which has been expressed by many people through the Inverhuron region. The challenge in all of that is the zoning at this point is in force and effect. And it's not a zoning that council can even offer a motion to reconsider, because it is in force and effect. It's in effect and it's moving forward. There are processes, but it's way outside our pay grade to implement or authorize those. The subdivision agreement, which is at the Bruce County level at this point, is in an appeal process. We're in that stage where it can be appealed. However, with the legislation introduced by the provincial government, third parties cannot appeal the subdivision agreement. So we're not able to, public's not able to, there's no grounds for action. And once again, if you wanted to, it's way above our pay grade to implement those. So you're welcome to comment, but understanding that there's no course of action that this municipal council can take to achieve what the petition is asking for. Councillor Steinhoff Gray, if you would like to comment, please.
I think a really important thing that we've done with a lot of other areas, and we haven't necessarily afforded. Pardon me?
Excuse me.
You're
No.
not allowed to take the microphone.
Okay.
Yes, Councillor.
Sorry. What I was going to say is, in a lot of other activities that we've done, and I'm not necessarily arguing what's right or wrong in this step, but we have a large number of people with concerns, and I think it's worth setting up a session similar to what we did at the Underwood Community Center, regardless of what happens out of it, to take note of those concerns and see what standards can be applied when we're doing the next steps of the approval process. Because you're right, we have to be within the legislation and what's mandated. So understanding what the concerns are and providing answers either to, or ensuring that we're looking for those whatever mitigating actions are required as part of that subdivision plan, because it'll go through different phases. I think it would be important just to allow the opportunity for comment. I think in general, I don't know what the accountability is, but you look at our surveys of only 100 respondents, and then we have people who say they didn't even know that the chance to comment had come and gone. I don't know how we get people more informed, and I'd probably be a very rich woman if I could figure it out. But we do have to afford them that opportunity to say what their concerns are and have us mitigate them by responding that we've already mitigated for them and it's not a concern. And I don't think that's unnecessary. We don't need to do an appeal to do that. And it's going to go through all those approvals prior to becoming a real subdivision that are enforced through our building department. So I don't know why we couldn't have a session with them to listen to the concerns and either negate them or provide a mitigating strategy.
Councillor Stewart.
Gentleman in the crowd would like to speak, and I guess we could allow him to speak if we had a vote. One of the things, and I think that my fellow counselor mentioned it very well, is that there's 200 residents down in Inverhuron that are totally against this development. We really need to maybe do more checks and balances at the beginning. I'm finding after 6 years that when someone actually submits a subdivision down at our level, we really have very little control of what happens out there. And it's a shame. It's the planners, it's the county and everything else. By the time we get it, it's almost too late. I mean, I can't reconsider this. I voted no for this, and I couldn't even reconsider this because if we reconsidered this and voted no, it'd just go to the tribunal and the provincial government and the county and it would cost the taxpayers to get the lawyers to do this. It's unfortunate. I mean, one thing we did, and I must admit the Saugeen Valley actually helped us with this, is at least we have a 30-meter zone, EP zone around the Little Sauble River that cannot be touched. So at least that part will remain the same. But we have to be careful. We're getting more and more of these patchworks all over the place. This actually is a very high density. It really is, unfortunately, a community that's really sponsored by basically Bruce Power. It doesn't fit in, but it's very disturbing that I have all my fellow cottagers and Inverhuronites don't want this, and basically I have no power to do really anything about it. So unless this gentleman would like to speak, is the council willing to let him speak? I guess we'd have to put that to a vote. Allowed to have a vote on that.
Council can introduce a motion if you would like.
I'll introduce a motion to allow this gentleman to come up, have 3 minutes only to talk about this situation at the subdivision. And that's my motion.
Moved by Councillor Stewart, seconded by Deputy Mayor Clark, that we allow a delegation regarding this consent agenda item. Discussion. Councillor Hinchberger and then Kennedy, please.
To my colleagues, we're starting to set a precedent here that I don't think we want to set. No matter what we do on the subject of housing, I can guarantee you there is going to be at least one passionate member of the public that's going to want to stand up in front of council, give the reasons why it shouldn't go ahead. And when we don't do what's asked, we'll be accused of not listening to the public. On every issue that comes before us, there's going to be a spectrum of people and their views on this. But one of our jobs here is to look after the best interests of the public. That's a kind of an amorphous group that's faceless. It's no one person, it's everyone. This development, the Tidman one, from my perspective and a background working in environmental management on the Bruce Power site, is one of the best, well-planned developments in terms of an environmental impact study and identifying possible impacts and ways to mitigate it through a number of ways, like stormwater management plans, grading plans, tree retention plans, ecological offset areas. I believe this is good. And so if we do this tonight, then we're basically saying that every single person who wants to come before council and disagrees with the decision that we made is going to be allowed to speak. And if one is allowed to speak, shouldn't they all?
Councillor Steinhoff, Gray, please.
Mike, sorry, through you, Chair. Councillor Hinchberger makes a really strong argument in that this decision is made and there is no reversal on it. I understand that. I still think that having an opportunity, however we deal with it, to give public education on what's happening and public comment is important. But I think this is highlighting for me a bigger piece on maybe reviewing our official plan. And I'm not saying that what we have is wrong, but how we augment it to encourage development where we want development. Because reality is to maybe not bearing on this, but infrastructure is something that has to be in place too. And doing it in a strategic manner is important. And I think this opens up just a bigger discussion that could help close comments on some of these items. So I'm just throwing that out as food for thought. But I do take your counsel that this is a decision that's been made, not a decision that can be changed by comment.
Deputy Mayor, please.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. I think there's been some valid points raised. Councillor Hinchberger's point concerning the merits of the development in itself. That's fine. I perhaps disagree with you, and we part ways on the issue of whether delegation should be allowed to present before council. We obviously have the opportunity at any stage to bring a motion. And whether or not members of the community disagree with us, I think it's important that they have a voice and that they're able to express that voice before council. So I take your point that it may very well not change the decision, because it can't. But equally, if there is a delegation or a member of public that comes before council, council has that opportunity to vote. I don't know that it's setting a precedent. Every vote will be taken for the merits on that day or that evening. And to be fair, when somebody goes out of their way to sit through one of these council meetings, I believe they should be afforded the opportunity to speak.
Councillor Kennedy, please.
Yeah, just to, I'm not really, I don't have a problem with hearing from the public. I have a problem with the last couple of times we did this, and they're up there bashing our staff, and I have a problem with that. If this is about our staff or something like that, then I'm going to speak up, because this is about why that development shouldn't be here. It's not about what has happened in the last 10 months. This is about, proof of why that development should not take place in that spot. And I just don't want to hear staff getting blasted and getting caught by surprise by this sort of thing that can happen, and we let it happen. I just don't want to see it happen again. Okay, thank you.
Councillor Hinchberger and then Blackwell, please.
The last thing I maybe would like to say is respect Deputy Mayor Clark very much. There is a process for attempting to do what it was. Submit a delegation, put it on the agenda, bring it before council. The way the processes stand right now, I don't believe it changes anything, whether that we entertain the public tonight or on the agenda at a future meeting.
Councillor Blackwell, please.
Thank you. Through you. I'm going to try not to wave around the fence here too much, but my view of this is that this process started prior to us becoming sworn in as council. There was a public meeting held in November. All of our planning processes include a public meeting in which case the public has the opportunity to comment. It's been a year almost that this process has been ongoing. I've received many emails. I've replied to many emails. I'm a very process-oriented person, and I think that there, as Councillor Hinchberger said, there's also an opportunity to submit a delegation. I feel that there's obviously opportunities for us to increase perhaps public notice. I think in some cases that's on us. If I would be happy.
Excuse me, Councillor
Yep.
Blackwell. No,
Okay.
that's not on us. That is nothing to do with the. Well, you personally, but when you say it's us, it's not on us. It's on maybe on you, but not on us.
Yes, I will rephrase that then. I will say that I think as councillors and representatives of our community, it's up to us to help. It's up to me personally to try and keep my community informed about the potential changes that may be coming, and to speak with our own constituents about the process of how they can be engaged in this and the correct potential ways to do that.
Councillor Signoff Gray, you get the last word before we call the vote.
Thank you. The only comment I was going to make is, regardless of why people aren't necessarily aware, I find some people times when you don't understand the process, you don't necessarily know how to engage in it. So submitting a delegation, I don't know how many weeks in advance you're supposed to do that, but there's definitely an advance notice period. If you don't become aware within that window, without showing up and hoping that the council takes kind of mercy upon your appeal, you don't get the opportunity.
So we have a motion before us that we allow this gentleman to make a delegation. All in favor of the motion? 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed? And the motion is defeated. So we need a mover and seconder for acceptance of consent agenda moved by. We need the mover and seconder, Councillor Stewart and Deputy Mayor, that council approve the recommendations contained in the consent agenda dated September 27, direct staff to proceed with all necessary administrative actions. All in favor? And that's carried. General announcements. Councillor Kennedy, let's start with you.
Mike, through the chair. Yeah, so I know, hospital fundraiser, doctors and nurses playing October 28th, Legion, Cliff Erickson. I have tickets, thanks.
Councillor Blackwell.
I thank you through you. I'd just like to really reiterate that there are some wonderful resources available both on our website and within a couple of sites throughout the municipality for the Truth and Reconciliation Day. And I think especially as a municipal councillor, I'm going to be taking that day to really think about the calls to action and what we can do as an organization and myself personally. But I do really encourage the community to take that time as well.
Councillor Stewart.
Thank you. And through you, I just wanted to express an open invitation to the council to come and join us at the Tiverton Fall Fair. I know that Amanda Steinhoff Gray and I would be happy to see you all over there. And it's on the weekend, the long weekend, the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. And the Lions Club is having their traditional breakfast between 8 and 10. So we expect to see the deputy mayor and her family over there. And they usually come. So we're hoping for a good weekend. Let's all come out and celebrate with the Tiverton folks. Thanks.
Councillor Steinhoff Gray, please.
Thank you. I was just going to say, spoiler alert, we usually have terrible weather, but we enjoy it anyways. So I do hope that you come out anyways, rain or shine, because the rain just makes it more fun, I swear. And, you know, just a reminder that we do actually have a full midway. That's the 2nd year running. So one of the nice things is we usually don't have a huge lineup. So you can get your value out of those bracelets, getting on those rides. And I just wanted to say, if anyone hasn't gone to the ambassadors program, it is absolutely adorable watching the junior ambassadors. It's probably my highlight of the fair. Thanks.
Councillor Kavanaugh.
Snake draft. Thank you very much. And through the chair. So the Truth and Reconciliation has been mentioned, the upcoming Home for the Harvest, Tiverton Fall Fair is mentioned. I'll just add that tonight, NPX, one of our local businesses, is putting on a stargazing show, and that will be over at the dog park, starting at 7:45. So if anyone's interested after watching this exciting council and wants to stay up extra late, can't fall asleep because they're so wound up, I'll see you over there. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Clark, please.
So this weekend I completed the 7K trail challenge. Councillor Hinterberger was there. So it was well organized. You know, congratulations to the group that organized that and the volunteers. Look forward to the Tiverton Fall Fair, and just so you know, Councillor Stewart, my boys are requesting pancakes cooked by you. And October 21st, the Afro-Caribbean Cultural and Awards show that you can register through the municipality website.
Councillor Hinchberger.
Thank you through your mayor. And the reports that I tripped Deputy Mayor Clark in order to beat across the finish line are highly exaggerated. I just give a heads up to my fellow council members, as chair of the Natural Vegetation and Tree Preservation Committee, I'm working with Jolene to provide a report on the next agenda item on the progress of the committee to date. Thanks.
Councillor Pranger, please.
Thank you. I was going to have nothing to say, but now I have 5 things to say. 7K trail challenge. Love that race. I haven't been able to do it recently, so congrats, guys. But the Tiverton Fall Fair, you will generally see Councillor Steinhoff, Gray, and I at the horse show. If anyone remembers, Tiverton has an actual horse. Oh yes, Hinchy comes. Councillor Hinchberger comes as well now. I forgot last year he came and helped out as well. So the horse show is actually fantastic. Unfortunately, Kincardin's Fall Fair doesn't have space for opportunity for a horse show anymore, but Tiverton does. So bring out your horses, Western and English classes. They're all sponsored with prizes. It's a lot of fun, even in the rain. And I'm hoping to see everybody out at the stargazing event tonight too. So Councillor Kavanaugh, we'll see you there.
A couple of upcoming activities. The Kincardine BIA is sponsoring a harvest dinner, which is on the harvest dinner, which is on Harbor Street tomorrow, 5:30. A number of local eating establishments are providing a 5-course dinner. It's excellent. And Tuesday, October 10, Enbridge is hosting an open house at Underwood starting at 6 regarding the battery installation project that they're considering for the 6th of Bruce. CAO.
Thank you, Mayor. These are actually a couple of announcements from our manager of strategic initiatives, so thanks for that. Many of you would know that there was staff from OPG's Nuclear Sustainability Services Group that volunteered just last week to help repaint both the Indigenous and the Pride crosswalks at the bottom of Harbor Street. And we see these sidewalks and their creation as visible commitment to our ongoing journey towards reconciliation, as well as representation of the community's actions towards supporting and celebrating inclusion. Obviously very timely, being National Day for Truth and Reconciliation this week on Saturday. And she noted a couple of interesting pieces about the Indigenous crosswalk created by Ojibwe artist Jeffrey Red George. Mr. George called this crosswalk 7 Generations and used the color black to convey the dark period in Canadian history in which many Indigenous children were taken from their homes and sent to residential schools, using the color orange to symbolize that every child matters, and the color white to convey the healing power of hope that lead us from a darkened place to a brighter future. And his wish for us to share with you in the community is that when you are using the crosswalk, that you say a beautiful prayer for the earth and all of its beings, and for the 7 generations that are yet to come. And we do really want to thank OPG for their work in helping to preserve that crosswalk and demonstrating their own commitment to reconciliation and support. So that was lovely, and there's news about that as well. Also on Saturday, October the 21st, we're recognizing, and the Deputy Mayor mentioned this, and celebrating the Afro-Caribbean youth living in Grey and Bruce counties. The award ceremony is taking place at the Davidson Center, and we'll have the poet. But if you haven't already registered, you can visit our website, or you can contact Ms. Fiozzi, and the deadline for registration is October 15th. Thank you.
Excellent. So I'd like to ask the Deputy Mayor to assume the chair at this point. I have a conflict in the,
I ask a favor.
I don't know.
If it would be all right with council, could we have the second item in closed session first, as the lawyer is present? He's ready to go in. Is that all right? He's awaiting approval. Oh,
5 minutes.
okay. Yep.
So when you come back.